Recently, President Trump and the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, made history by meeting in Singapore for the first summit held between the country's two leaders in, well, ever. As a result, you've got loads of opinions about the summit itself, but less about the outcome of the summit. You've got a lot of people wrapped up in the pomp and the circumstance, the language the president used, the historic value of the moment, talking about the 13-second handshake that they shared before officially starting. Yeah, it keeps going. We'll talk about all of that in a bit. But to be fair, it's not like the takes could have much else to them because A, there wasn't much released about the substance, and B, all that was released suggested that things were incredibly vague. But now we have some new information, so let's answer what I feel are the two big questions surrounding the Kim and Trump summit. 1. What's in the deal that was made between the US and North Korea? And 2. How likely is it to actually lead to the removal of nuclear weapons? And before I answer these questions, I also want to emphasize two more things, and that's 1, I am not an expert on North Korea, and I don't want to pretend to be otherwise. I try to read and research those who have developed an expertise in the subject, so my information here is based off of their takes. And 2, it's an evolving situation, with details still getting planned out. A lot could change by the time this video is out for a week. Shoot, it could change between the times that I write the script to that when it goes live. So let's just keep all that in mind. Regarding the first question, it doesn't seem like there was very much concrete stuff settled between the two. North Korea has again reasserted its commitment to denuclearizing the peninsula and has indicated that they support the exchange of information regarding prisoners of war during the Korean War, as well as the repatriation of remains that have already been identified. There was an agreement signed between the two parties that set out these 2 points, as well as 2 more, indicating the joint desires of the US and North Korea to build, quote, a lasting and stable peace regime on the Korean Peninsula, end quote, and that the two nations will establish new relations. Basically, that they talk because, as President Trump admitted previously, big changes will take time and increased cooperation. Although the administration is optimistic about how much time, interestingly enough, National Security Advisor Michael Bolton suggested that the lion's share could be accomplished before the end of President Trump's first term. Obviously, the closer to November 2020, the better for President Trump's re-election chances. The agreement isn't a treaty, as that would have needed to have gone through Congress to get ratified, nor is it legally binding. Experts are concerned that the agreement is worded too vaguely, allowing for Kim to secure a massive PR win on behalf of his country, and potentially legitimizing his regime, for very little in return. It appears that President Trump has given a number of concessions to the North Korean government, including the promises of security for the regime, the suspension of war games with South Korea, and the lifting of economic sanctions when certain conditions are satisfied. Here's the rub, we don't actually know what those conditions are though, because the Trump administration is saying one thing and North Korean state media are saying another, and both are in positions that would behoove them to announce the most positive spin possible for their respective audiences. I don't think we're honestly getting the whole truth from either party here. And in the process, President Trump said some startlingly positive things about the autocrat. Things like how he obviously cares for his country, how he cares for his people, he wants what's best for them, despite the fact that he racks up human rights violations like I do dislikes on a Rick and Morty fan theory. But I mean, hey, check it out, I've got lighting, I've fixed the audio and the visuals now. I mean, kinda on the visuals. Moving on to the second question, how likely is it that this will result in the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula? Not as much as President Trump probably hopes. The agreement makes reference to the 2018 Panmunjom Declaration, which Kim made in conference with South Korean President Moon Jae-in earlier this year. In it, both leaders assert the intent to work for a new era of peace and the denuclearization of the peninsula. But this isn't the first time that North Korea has made promises about not pursuing nuclear ambitions. They've signed agreements about it before, most recently in 1994 if I'm not mistaken, but they still pursued nuclear weapons. It didn't stop them, and the devil ended up being in the details. It was ultimately about enforcement mechanisms that caused the deal to break down. That's not to mention the results of the Six Nation talks that took place between 2003 and 2009, when North Korea decided just to peace out of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Indeed, leading up to the summit, many experts were quoted as being somewhere between cautiously optimistic and just plain cautious. That's because of the tendency of the North to abandon deals once it secured economic relief and benefits, as well as the fact that such a deal would take a long time to fully secure. Some experts say it could take up to 10 years, and there's a lot that can happen between now and 2028. Admittedly, there are a small number of major qualitative differences between those times and now, but that doesn't necessarily mean we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? That we need to abandon the insights that they gave us into the likelihood of abandonment in this time. Anyways, for me, I'm personally of two minds here. Man, I've had a lot of twos in this video. I just realized that. On the one hand, I'm happy that President Trump no longer appears to be itching for a fight with Kim Jong-un. Like, I'm definitely more of a pacifist personally. War to me should only be a measure of last resort, especially one one involving nations with nuclear capabilities. So I find the de-escalation of tensions to be relieving. I do want to give President Trump and his team credit for that. And also a tad disappointed in the minority, and I want to emphasize that term minority of people who want to tear down even this small step in the right direction just because it came from Donald Trump. Is it a lot of progress? Objectively not. Does it deserve a parade or a heaping of accolades thrown their way? I don't think so, no. Was it mostly probably just de-escalating the brinksmanship that the president himself started? Yeah, probably. But it also doesn't deserve to be entirely discredited just because Trump was the person who did it. We don't need to give like a mountainful of credit or throw a ticker tape parade or something like that. Like, let's not set the bar at the floor, but I think we should give credit where credit is due. And that includes President Trump as well as the tireless work of our diplomats and those working in South Korea who worked tremendously hard to get even this small step forward. That said, his comments about the situation are incredibly troubling. Some may see it as buttering Kim up, but I think there's a way to maintain rapport without openly praising the actions of a dictator responsible for innumerable human rights violations. Not even touching on the fact that he again seemed to make major policy decisions without consulting his experts. South Korean and military officials only learned of his decision to halt war games with South Korea at the same moment as the rest of us during that press conference, which isn't very good. By his own admission, the president is not an expert on the usage of our military. He mentioned that back in the campaign when he said that he would be sure to include plenty of experts in his administration to counteract the things that he doesn't know. But experts are only worth so much if you actually, run things by them first. And this is one hell of a concession to make, one that the North Korean media is already spinning to its benefit. In any event, while I'm hopeful for peace in North Korea and for the denuclearization of the peninsula, and while I would love for it to happen during President Trump's tenure, it's good to be skeptical and cautiously optimistic. I mean, I keep having to refer to the whole idea using the clunky as hell phrase, denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, because nobody seems to have a full grasp on what that entails just yet. Doesn't mean a gradual step back, a total removal of all the weapons, something in between, something else entirely. And on top of that, we are dealing with a state that has reneged on similar promises before. It's too soon to know anything for sure, so let's not assume that somehow this will be a miraculous instance unless we have enough evidence for the existence of such a miracle. What do you guys think about the US-North Korean summit? Is it a step too far, a step in the right direction, somewhere in between? Do you think that this will result in peace in the region, or are we getting our hopes up far too much, far too soon, on far too little? I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts on those questions that cropped up while watching this video, and ideas for future topics. I'm always open to suggestions down in the comment section below. Look forward to reading all of them and answering a few of them in the next office hour. Sources for everything is always down in the doobly-doo, as well as links to the Facebook, Twitter, and the blog. Look forward to seeing you guys out there as well. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you consider giving it a thumbs up. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by commenting down below, by sharing this video, and by subscribing to the channel. Stay in the loop for more awesome social science content is uploaded. And if you want to be guaranteed to be in the loop when I do upload a new video, be sure to click the bell icon as well. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.